Join me in saying the pledge to the greatest country in the world. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Could I get the ladies from Freedom House to come up, please? We have a proclamation tonight honoring Freedom House. Sexual assault awareness month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in the community. SAM aims to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educate our community about how best to prevent it. Sexual assault prevalence is based on a widespread, devastating abuse of power, one that affects people of every age, race, sex, gender identity, national origin, socioeconomic background, and religion. Whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment are harmful within our community, with 1 in 5 women and 1 in 67 men sexually assaulted at some point in their lifetimes. And whereas child sexual abuse prevention must be a priority to confront the reality that 1 in 6 little boys and 1 in 4 little girls who experience sexual assault will turn 18 years of age. Whereas on college campuses, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted during their college years. 33% of adults with intellectual disabilities have experienced sexual violence during their lifetime. 2023 marks the 22nd anniversary of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and this year's campaign theme being Drawing Connections, Prevention Demands Equity, draws on all individuals, communities, organizations, and institutions to change the system surrounding us to build equity and respect within our community. Jointly, we can publicly support victims, share educational information about assault and online harassment, and take a strong stance against victim blaming comments. Now, I, Will Moss, Mayor of the City of Wool Park, by virtue of the authority vested in me, hereby proclaim April 2023 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Wool Park. We join Freedom House as they help survivors of sexual assault by supporting the eradication of sexual assault through improving victim safety and holding perpetrators accountable for their actions against members of our community. Would you join me in congratulating Freedom House? I do.
Mayor, you know, when serving Congress, you get to do some neat things. This is one of them when you get to come home and come to a new city hall like this. And it's beautiful. We flew a flag over the U.S. Capitol to honor this event. And in fact, there's a picture of it flying right here on a beautiful blue sky day in Washington, D.C. So let me read you what it says. That I, the Congressman of the 25th District of Texas, ask this flag to be flown over the United States Capitol on February 14th, Valentine's Day, 2023, in commemoration of the grand opening of the Willow Park City Hall. The flag is flown at the request of myself, a member, and to recognize this great facility and grateful community that you help us live in. We appreciate it. And for all the hard work and the dedication of citizens and like the folks you just honored represent right here. So I want to present this flag with you and say thank you for your leadership and for the council on the leadership you give. It's not easy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, sir.
That's the fun part of this job. At this time, we have a public comment.
Susan Bone.
Dr. Susan Bone.
Good evening, Mayor Moss, Mr. Grimes, members of the council. My name is Susan Bone. I'm the proud superintendent of Aledo ISD. Really happy to take a minute just to talk to you about an upcoming bond election that we're having in the district on May 6th, which is a Saturday. And this all started with with our Aledo Growth Committee, which is a citizens committee that's led by citizens, two citizen co-chairs who put together a bond package to be considered by the voters on May 6th. You have in front of you a pamphlet. I'm going to leave the rest of them here too, so you can have them at City Hall if you'd like, or hand them out to the audience. This details the bond package that's going to be before voters. What I like to tell people is that they can sit and listen to me talk about this, and we are doing a tour of our school district and giving as much information out as we possibly can so that people are well informed when they hopefully come to the polls. But they can, we can talk about it on Facebook, on social media, all of that. But what really matters is getting to the polls and voting. So I tell people that, we all get to decide in Aledo ISD, but only if we vote. And so this actually is a $123.8 million bond package. It has an elementary school that would be a brand new school, because in the year 2024-25, which is 2 school years from now, we are projected by our demographers to be over capacity at the elementary level. In fact, 5 of our 6 elementaries, including McCall Elementary, are expected to exceed capacity at that time. So our growth committee put together the package. You can see it here. And on the back of the package, when we ask our demographers how big will Aledo ISD be when we build out, we have about 130 square miles. And of course, y'all are a partner in this growth work as well, and you're feeling the growth as well. And we appreciate y'all being members of our local government collaborative, where we talk about growth and plan together for it. When we ask them how big will we be, we're about 8,000 students right now, not quite 8,000. They say that we will likely in 30 or 35 years be 45,000 students or 65,000 students. We're not yet 8 today. So this is, as you know, y'all will be part of it too. It is a sustained period of fast growth, decades of fast growth. So the committee was also tasked by the Board of Trustees to put together not just the next bond package, but also a long-range plan for the coming years. You can see that on the back of your pamphlet as well. When we get to about 2025, we are talking about the high school question. One thing that I like to tell people about high school is we are not a 1 or 2 high school town. We're a 5 or 6 high school town if we have 45,000 or 65,000 students. So those are all my comments. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any. There's lots of information on our website. We have video content, lots of content. Hopefully it is in a form that's digestible to most people so they can get it how it's convenient for them. And then early voting starts on April 24th. You can early vote at our building, at the admin building, and I think early voting here too, perhaps.
No.
Is that true? No? No early voting here? Okay. No,
That was only if we were holding an election.
Only if you were holding an election. Okay, so early voting and election day voting at our admin building, and then at a couple other locations. Not a lot of locations for a May election, but at a couple other locations. And so we're asking that people get informed about the bond, that they share actual factual information about the bond, and then, of course, most importantly, they show up and vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 2 on the agenda, we need to approve city council meeting minutes on the meeting held March 14th, 2023. Can we do these in succession?
Yes, there is a
Yeah.
consent agenda.
We want to approve the regular meeting on March 14th, 2023, a special meeting on March 30th, 2023, and a special meeting on April 3rd, 2023. Do we have a motion, please?
Can we group them?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for regular meeting on March 14th, 2023, in addition to the approved special meeting on March 30th, 2023, and special meeting again on April 3rd, 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 6. Authorize the mayor to renew and amend the current joint solid waste agreement with Republic Waste Services entered into with the City of Hudson Oaks, City of Aledo, Town of Annetta North, City of Annetta South, and the City of Willow Park, effective through April 30th, 2026. Is that Mr. Grimes?
Yes. The city's mentioned in the agenda item. We have basically appointed and told Sterling to negotiate a deal on behalf of all the other city managers. He's been working on this for about a year with these two extensions and contracts. I'll let Sterling come up and hit the highlights. Agenda items 6 and 7 are relatively the same. One's with Republic and the other one's with Waste Management, but I'll let Sterling take over.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes, Mayor, and Council. First of all, I just want to thank you all for the trust you put into myself, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Rob Watson with Annetta North, who's been an integral part of this. He was part of this initially with the City of Hudson Oaks and the surrounding cities to get this contract done, which is really unheard of to have this many cities come together in the political environment that we all are faced with within our cities to do something and leverage our buying power to get what's best for our citizens. So I appreciate that. I appreciate the trust of myself and Rob Watson in getting this done. So as Mr. Grimes mentioned, I'm going to kind of speak to, I believe it's 6 and 7 on your agenda consecutively because they go together. So a little bit of background. I know a lot of the residents probably don't know this or really care. They just want their solid waste to be picked up and disposed of. But there's two separate contracts that you're under currently. Currently, you have a collections contract with Republic Services, and you had to have a disposal contract with Waste Management. So what that means is Republic is the company you see on the streets that picks up your trash, and then at the end they take it to a Waste Management landfill. So what we do is we leverage all of our buying power from the cities, and then we use that to drive down the rate and get our residents the lowest rate that we possibly can. So with this, currently there are 5 cities that are associated with this, and that is us, Hudson Oaks, Willow Park, and 3 Annettas. Aledo is a piggyback onto this, and they had a desire to come on to this contract as the 6th city, so we've welcomed them to come on, and they have done so. So what we've done is we had 3 main goals when we set in to do this, and that was to marry the 2 contracts. So currently the 2 contracts do not expire on the same date, and hence why you have two action items in front of you today. So the Waste Management contract, which is for the actual disposal, expires in 2026, whereas the Republic expires next month. So we set out a goal to marry those so that they all expire on the same time. And then secondly, we wanted to enter into a long-term contract, which allows us, from citizens and from a management standpoint, to budget the way that we need to budget, and people know that what the cost is going to be for their solid waste disposal for the long term. So we've done that. What that also does is allow Republic to invest in infrastructure that they'll need to invest in to service our citizens for that extended period of time. And then finally, we wanted to not only marry the contracts, but make one contract, so that we're not having to deal with two separate businesses and trying to get collections, and then they have to deal with it from the disposal standpoint and having to do with 2 separate entities when it comes to that. We wanted to have one take-all contract where they did collections and disposal was up to them on how they dispose of that. So we feel like we've done that in this contract. So in order to do that, we decided that we needed to hit that May 1st, 2026 date, which is the Waste Management expiration date. What we're suggesting here is we extend the current contract with Republic for 3 years, which will put us at that same date. And at that point in time, we would enter into a longer-term contract, which you have in front of you as your second action item. So that allows us to extend this. Everything will be the same with the rate increases for the next 3 years. And then on 2026, if approved tonight, then that contract would automatically go in for the extended period of time to create that long-term relationship. So what you have in front of you, I believe you guys have the rates. Our current rates for the 5 cities that are part of this is basically $19.94 when you include everything from twice a week collections, and then the residential recycling, and then you have your cart rental fee of $3.15. That rate will go up to from $19.94 to $20.78, so it's less than a dollar increase. And then you can see it's a 4% increase for the next 3 years until you enter into the new contract, which also has a 4% increase year over year. So we looked at a lot of different ways on how to do that. We looked at CPI. We looked at CPI was probably the main one we looked at. There's a way to break CPI down into just kind of the garbage collection. But if you look at that trending over the year, there'll be years where you work out pretty well. And then if you would have been under that CPI 2 years ago, as the economy was starting to go in COVID, you would have been paying a substantially larger portion of what you are paying now. So we went with a fixed rate 4%, which allows us from a management standpoint to budget for that, allows for you as a homeowner to know that your trash disposal is going up 4% every year and gives you that stability. So we've done that. So basically by the end of the year, or by the end of this current extension, you're going to be paying $22.22, which is a substantially low rate. You have in front of you kind of the highlights of both the renewal agreement, and then you have the joint solid waste that will kick in 2026 and go till 2031. The biggest thing of that will be a learning curve when the new one kicks in at 2026. It will have what they call the automatic service, or an ASL, which is automatic side load. So if you're familiar with a truck, whereas now they pull up, a guy jumps off the back of the truck, goes and pulls your bin over, and then puts it in the back of the truck. The whole industry, like Grimes said, we've been working on this for a year. We've been talking to a lot of trash folks, and the whole industry is going to this automated load. So what you'll see now is you'll have to have a bin. So you'll go to the bins that I think Willow Park is like 80-something% bins at the moment. Hudson Oaks is almost 90%. So there'll be some folks that'll have to enter into getting their bin. But what it is, a truck will have a driver. They'll pull up. There'll be an arm instead of a guy pulling up. We'll grab that bin, dump it into your truck, and then pull it out. So there'll be a little bit of a learning curve on how to do that. Republic's committed within the contract to supplying us, the cities, with some materials and marketing materials to get that word out and what that means. And then as they start making that transition, if somebody's not putting the trash bin out to the curb all the way or correctly, they'll put some flyers out on how to mitigate that. So again, I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate Mr. Watson being a part of this. I think you guys are the last city. There's a couple of cities that are doing it tonight as well that will get all 6 cities on board. And then we'll get those contracts signed if approved tonight and then move forward. So appreciate the trust that you guys have put into myself and Mr. Rob Watson to get this done, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks for doing it.
Sterling, question for you.
Yes,
When you went into the negotiation, what was the initial rate that Republic Waste Management came back with, and how much were you able to reduce that down?
So Jerry is with Republic, who has just showed up. So I guess maybe she was at, like I said, we got a couple of these going on tonight. So initially, there wasn't a hard set rate. It was a discussion between us as we sat down and said, look, we understand from our standpoint the cost of doing business. And like I said, we wanted to enter into a long-term contract so that they could start investing in the infrastructure they needed to for this automatic side load. But we looked at CPI. They were willing to do CPI if that so be. I think originally they came back at 5%. We were, it's a typical thing, right there at 5. We wanted 2.5, and we ended up, for 3 months going back and forth and kind of settled on 4%. When you look at CPI, if you averaged it out, 3.5 to 5% is probably where you're going to be. So we kind of settled on the 4%. It gives us a safety net. Like I said, 2 years ago, if we would have been on CPI, we would have been paying a lot more. We looked at it at one point in time. I know Jerry didn't agree with me. I wanted to put a floor on it and or a ceiling on it and no floor, and then they wanted a floor, no ceiling. So we went back and forth. But ultimately, at 4%, gives us the safety nets we need. It allows us, from a budgetary standpoint, allows the residents to have the stability they need to, and then your exposure is not out there. So to answer that question, we were at CPI. We were somewhere in the 5%. Got it down to 4%.
So over the next roughly 3 years, it'll only go up $2.28. I think that's a fantastic job that you did, fantastic job that Rob Watson did. And Jerry, thank you so much for allowing us to get this done at such a, we think, a fair rate. So thank you.
So how are non-bendable items, like in the fall, we see people with a lot of bags of leaves, we see like recent storms, people with sections of wooden fence laying out. How are those going to be disposed of in the future if you're going to go to this automated bin system? What happens there?
So we do realize, and I apologize for being late. I sprained my ankle this weekend, and it's hard to get around, and I've had multiple meetings to cover. The good thing about this is we know that there are some locations that they don't have curb, they don't have gutter, they don't have sod. We are fully aware of that because we've been hauling for a long time out here. And so the expectation will be that the driver gets out and moves the cart and then dumps the cart and then puts the cart back. And so you're not going to see a bunch of carts just thrown into gullies and things like that. And one of the things that I like to brag on this crew out here, their service is second to none. And I don't have service issues out here in this market because they live in this area and their children go to school in this area. And so they are proud of where they work. And when they wear that uniform shirt to go pick their kid up from school or go to an activity, they don't want to have to hide, in which I don't blame them. So they do take a lot of pride and ownership in what they do out here. There'll be a learning curve, and we're aware of that. The first 30 days of a ASL project, it's not fun. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. It's not fun. It's not fun for the city. It's not fun for us. The second, we've pretty much worked out, what needs to happen at particular properties, and then within 90 days, everything quiets down and everybody's happy again. So, it's going to take a lot of education on our part. But with this crew out here, I feel very confident that they'll make whatever accommodations they need to for the residents.
So there's going to be one driver that's going to take care of it rather than the driver and two loaders then from this point forward or after that point?
So on the automated trucks, it'll be one driver, but we're still going to have rear load trucks because we still have bulk. And so they will have a helper, possibly two. Some of the routes out here really do require two-man. Some of them don't, and so we've kind of got that ironed out. Nobody's losing their job over automation, and I'm very proud of that as well, because we're still going to have the bulk that has to be picked up, and we're aware of that. So this means that we won't have to rely on temporary helpers as much. They'll be full-time employees for Republic, and so that means better service all the way around for us.
So will you have automated and bulk running the same routes and multiple times a week, or how's that working? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of like you run two trucks,
Okay.
one that takes care of the carts and then the bulk routes.
Okay.
Will the bulk routes be weekly as well?
Pardon me?
Will the bulk routes be weekly as well, or monthly, or what will that be? I understood his question, but I don't think I got the answer I was looking for. What about, leaves, things like that, the bags we can't get in those bins?
So leaves are included with bulk.
Okay, but how often will the bulk run is what I'm asking.
It's weekly.
So if you look on the sheet that is kind of in your packet, it's twice a week. Service includes bulk and brush, and that's once a week, and then you got your one-time recycling.
Okay.
And then you can always call. I don't know how Mr. Grimes and them handle it. I know for us, like if you call, you have the ability to get a specialized bulk pickup as well too.
Yeah.
So if a citizen calls
Yep.
up to City Hall, then we coordinate with Republic to get us if they have such as a storm we had a while back.
Right.
We coordinated with Republic to get our residents taken care of. But it's a once a week bulk pickup.
I don't want to rake too much, so, we keep it once a week's fine. My wife calls, ignore that call.
I'm with you.
You picked up a lot of basketball goals in my neighborhood about a month ago.
Thanks, Sterling, very much.
And I would like to publicly say thank you to Sterling for putting this all together and working with us. And we have been going back and forth for quite some time. And while he's been working with the other city managers and stuff, but it makes it a lot easier when you have a point person. And I will tell you, he can be a pretty tough negotiator.
Rob Watson with me.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agreement with Republic Waste Services? This is item number 6.
Yes, and that's proposed motion is on page 16 of your packet.
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to renew and amend the current joint solid waste agreement with Republic Waste Services entered into with the city of Hudson Oaks, city of Aledo, town of Annetta, town of Annetta North, city of Annetta South, and the city of Willow Park, effective through April 30th, 2026.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Go ahead.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion, please? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 7, to authorize the mayor to execute a joint solid waste agreement with Republic Waste Services entered into with the city of Hudson Oaks, town of Annetta North, city of Aledo, city of Annetta South, and city of Willow Park, effective May 1, 2026. Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to authorize the mayor to enter into a joint solid waste agreement with Republic Waste Service and the cities that he mentioned in his reading, effective May 1st, 2026.
Thank you. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion, please? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 8, to allow the implementation of STEP grant, click it or ticket.
Jacqueline. Sergeant Ramirez?
It's actually 2 grants that are together.
We have 2 separate items.
Okay, perfect. So Mayor, Council, we came to you a couple months ago for the IDM mobilization for that grant. There's more grants that come throughout the year. This is going to be for click it or ticket. This has been in place for about 20 years statewide. The enforcement wave, it's only a 2-week period. It'll run May 22nd through June 4th. The purpose is to look for seatbelt violations, whether it's children or adults. Our goal is to reduce the number of injuries and fatalities to adults and children. Our agency did work 1 fatality in December of last year that was caused by speed and seatbelt, no seatbelt. In 2021, there was a 14% increase from 2020 in the number of fatalities involved not wearing a seatbelt in this state. We do write a lot of no seatbelt tickets or warnings. We also see a lot of unrestrained children. There are 2 of us that are child safety techs, myself and Corporal Wolf. So we do help to educate the community in properly seatbelting babies and children. The cost of this, so the grant match, we try to get it 80-20. Not perfect. It's kind of hard sometimes with the numbers. So the grant match, TxDOT's part will be 79.27%, and then our part as the city would be 20.73%. So the award would be $3,000 from TxDOT. TxDOT match is up to $2,997.60. The city match would be $783.94. That's if we use it all, so up to $783.94.
So you're asking for $783.94?
Up to, yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for Sergeant Ramirez? Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that council, or I'll make a motion that council give city admin Grimes the ability to cover the cost up to $783.94.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions? All in favor? Thank you. Item number 9, to allow the implementation of STEP grant, Operation Slowdown E-Grant.
So the figures, as far as the money, are exactly the same. We're asking for $783.94. Same thing, up to $3,000 from TxDOT. The purpose of this is for speeding. Again, the factor in that fatality was speed and no seatbelt. We also increased public education regarding speeding. In our last 2 waves that we've done in the IDM grant, speeding was one of the top factors, along with seatbelts and other driving.
Okay. Do we have a motion, please?
Make a motion that we approve or allow the city to match up to $783.94 in the Operation Slowdown Grant.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sergeant?
Item number 10, to amend Chapter 5, Fire Prevention and Protection of the City Code of Ordinances, amending Article 5.02 Fire Marshal, and then deleting Article 5.03 Fire Department. Mr. Funderburk.
Mayor and Council, on March the 25th, the ESD-1 took over complete control of the fire department. And at that time, what we're needing to do tonight, we're recommending we need to go into our Code of Ordinances and delete 5.03, which named the fire department and the duties of the fire department. So they simply no longer have the fire department. That section needs to be deleted. The other thing we're asking is to amend 5.02, the fire marshal's office. And the change there is basically when it was a set-alone office, it reported to the mayor and to the city council. Under this situation, we're recommending that it be put directly under the city administrator because it's a day-to-day operation, and there's other duties that go with it. Really, the job duties do not change as the fire marshal from the original. Very little change, except it'll be reporting directly to the city administrator. So we're asking for this recommendation or change in the ordinance.
Okay, any questions for Bill? Do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve amending Article 5.02 Fire Marshal and deleting 5.03 Fire Department in the City Code of Ordinances.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion?
We need to effective immediately, I assume.
Yes.
Once
Once
you're voted on,
publication.
once you vote on it, it's approved immediately.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Item number 11, the city council may consider, discuss, and or act on the ordinance regulating sex offender residency in the city of Willow Park. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So the city currently does not have any ordinance or any regulations where sex offenders can reside within the city. What this is a proposed ordinance that would add, that will be added to Chapter 8, which is the offenses and nuisances in the city. This would be titled Article 809, Regulation of Sex Offender Residency. Essentially, what this ordinance does is it establishes and defines child safety zones within the city. It follows under the regulation or the definitions under the Health and Safety Code for the drug-free zones. So basically, it would be playground, school, daycare facilities, swimming pools, anything that the Health and Safety Code identifies as a drug-free zone would also be identified as a child safety zone. This ordinance would restrict temporary and permanent residency to within 1,000 feet of those defined child safety zones. They couldn't reside there temporarily or permanently. If they did, it would basically be a Class C misdemeanor up to $500 fine. So we just ask that the city adopt this ordinance to establish these child safety zones to give a little bit more protection of the children within our community. Have any questions?
Does this currently affect anybody that's living? I don't know what our numbers are, to be perfectly honest with you on that.
We have 3 sex offenders in the city. We had 1. We just had 2 move in. One of those sex offenders will reside within the area of a child safety zone. The ordinance specifically states that if somebody is already there, then they pretty much be grandfathered in, so it would not affect them. It would be from the date that the ordinance is adopted and on. But the other 2 do not live within those child.
If they move to, if whatever it may be, if they move away at any point, they cannot move back to that location, correct?
Correct.
Perfect.
Do we need to read the caption of the ordinance?
I would, because it incurs a fine.
Yep.
Okay.
I can make I'll make a motion if there are no other questions, to approve an ordinance of the City of Willow Park, Texas, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Willow Park, Texas, Chapter 8, Offenses and Nuisances, by adding a new Article 8.09, Regulation of Sex Offender Residency, thereby establishing child safety zones within the city's corporate limits, making it unlawful for persons required to register on the Texas Department of Public Safety Sex Offender Database to reside within 1,000 feet of property where children assemble or gather, and prohibiting renting or leasing residential housing to predatory sex offenders, providing definitions, exceptions, affirmative defenses, and exemptions to residency violations, providing a separability clause, providing for a penalty not to exceed $500, and that each day during or on which a violation occurs shall be deemed a separate offense, providing a cumulative repealer clause, providing for publication, providing for engrossment and enrollment, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second, please?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion?
Do we need Leah to repeat the motion?
Thank you, Leah.
All in favor? Thank you.
Good job, Steve.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Item number 12, to appoint Fire Marshal John Schneider to the Police Department Committee. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint Fire Marshal John Schneider to the Police Committee, the Police Department Committee.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Item 13, to consider the use of the funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to construct a new sanitary sewer line along Bankhead Highway from Ranch House Road to the east city limits. Bill?
Council, we have the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan Act. We received the money a couple of years ago, and part of that money built the lift station on the other side of I-20. That's where those funds were used. And so out of the, I'm going to give you a total, $1,448,995.93 was the total. We have remaining $939,284.63. We have till sometime in 25 to commit these funds for a project. And so we've been looking at the best way we feel like, staff feels like, that the funds could be used at this time, and try to keep a project very close to this amount of money. And so we have a recommendation or a suggestion to you tonight to use these funds for a sewer line on Bankhead. And Michelle is going to give you that project, and she'll describe it.
Council, this proposed sewer line would run on the north side of Bankhead from Ranch House Road, and we're actually proposing to go to the east city limits. What we'd like to do is it would be a gravity main that would run, take everything on the south side of Bankhead that's looking to develop, take it down to Willow Park Village lift station, and then we would do an extension of the sewer line from the east city limits back to Willow Park lift station. So Willow Park Village lift station. So everything would dump into that lift station. On your map, we also are showing a proposed alternate that we'd like to look at of running a sewer line down Ranch House Road. That would be about Railhead, and there's a manhole there, but all of that along there is on little lift stations, individual lift stations. We'd like to try to get them off of each individual lift station, if at all possible, and run it down to meet that new sewer line. Gretchen has done up a cost estimate for y'all. She's proposing an 8-inch with a total project cost of $1.152.
What was the total that's still available from the ARPA?
$939,284. There's another reason is that we've been talking to developers in this. We're needing sewer in that area to help develop all of this south of Bankhead in that area. Also next to the baseball fields, things like that. We need the sewer in that. And we feel like, Michelle and I were talking, that right now we do have some other priorities. We know we need some water and sewer lines in other areas, but they may be at a higher cost than what we have available right now. So we'll have to come back and look at those situations at another time, we feel like. But to get the development going and get the sewer in that part of town, we think that this is a good way to spend the funds.
And eliminate the small lift stations.
If we did, our proposal is we go ahead and do the engineering for that alternative along Ranch House, and then we see what the cost is going to be. So.
Okay.
Right now, Family Dollar, Railhead, they have their own pumps, and so they're having a pump in there. And so eventually we'll hopefully get gravity flow and get them off those.
Has it been surveyed for gravity flow from Railhead back down south to Bankhead?
Just preliminary by the guys. There is a 4-inch that's already from Family Dollar, Dollar General, whichever one, back up to Railhead, so we know that that's our break point. So that's why we're proposing to go ahead and do gravity back the other direction. So.
But it'll gravity down that way? Okay. And we're a couple hundred yards probably, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, any questions for Michelle or Bill?
Yes, are we confident in the Willow Park Village lift station's ability to handle the added capacity?
Yes. So Derek has sized all of them to be the same. So they're the same size as Kingsgate or the Beavers Creek. So we're confident in the sizing. Pumps are fairly new. We may have to change out pumps at some point, but that will be just a minor expense. So.
Okay.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion, please?
I don't think Nate wants that lift station overflow.
No, I do not.
I'll make a motion to approve using the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA Act funding administered by the U.S. Department of the Treasury, other federal or state agency to construct a new sanitary sewer line along Bankhead Highway from Ranch House Road to the east city limits.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Bill. Item number 14, to authorize staff to donate surplus office items and equipment to nonprofit organization and dispose of surplus office items and equipment that are deemed damaged. Mr. Grimes.
So 516 has become a storage facility of sorts for the city, the old city hall, and any sort of excess furniture and whatnot. There's some good stuff in there. There's some really good desks and chairs and whatnot. There's tons of office supplies. We've been approached by a number of nonprofit groups and other organizations about donations of that surplus property. The city has no need for them anymore. And so we asked Pat to what we should do. We need council to declare this surplus property, and then we can, is there a methodology that we need to do for?
They would just authorize disposition of it.
I make a motion to authorize staff to donate surplus office items and equipment to nonprofit organizations and dispose of surplus office items and equipment that are deemed damaged.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. We will now go into executive session at 6:45 p.m. Discussion of purchase contracts for the purchase of 120 El Chico along with adjoining unimproved property, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. We shall return. Come back out of executive session at 6:57 PM. And I think Mr. Crummell has a motion.
Yes. I'll make a motion the city council may approve an improved property purchase contract with Parker County RE Partners LLC for 120 El Chico. Additionally, the city council may approve an unimproved property purchase contract with I-20 KC LLC for unimproved property adjoining 120 El Chico.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Mayor's comments. Thanks, everyone, for your help. Another great move forward for our city, and we appreciate everyone's cooperation. Mr. Grimes.
Just thank the staff for last week, and they've done a great job of handling 3 or 4 different meetings in a short time frame, and so I appreciate all those efforts. We have a meeting on April the 25th, which is 2 weeks from today. I think we're going to have quarterly reports from staff on project updates and anything else council desires. If you have something specific you want staff to address at that meeting, just email me and we'll get that taken care of. And did Michelle leave? I sent everybody pictures this morning. It looks like our pump station is 99.9% complete. And so we are expecting to be 100% Fort Worth water, permanent connection, probably within the next 7 days.
That's super. Okay, anyone else?
Yes, Willow Bark is this Saturday. Please bring your 4-legged friend. Rose has worked very hard the last couple of months to put this thing together. It's going to be at McCall Elementary. The time, 11 to 4? Okay, I had 1 to 4 sometime in my head. So it's a great event. If it didn't go last year, it's great. The Community News is helping sponsor it, so we expect to see Rick out there doing the weenie dog races and all those other things.
I was going to say, we need to be a little more specific about 4-legged friends, so.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?